So I'm palling around Arkansas, and who do I find? Lynn Ray with Ray Knives. Welcome to Arkansas. Welcome to Ray Knives. A coal forge. So how often do you see a coal forge? Tell me about this.
Well, coal is the solid fuel from the 1800s and on back, even much farther. It's a natural solid fuel. It's mined. We take the coal, in other words, we get it started, and we coke it up. So it's like taking firewood and turning it into charcoal. So charcoal is a much cleaner, hotter fuel for cooking food, but if we transfer or change that over to what we're doing, we're using a cleaner fuel. The coal turns into coke, and the coke is just perfect for forging steel. You can make your forge weld a lot better with coke. In other words, what you see as smoke and flame, which is gas and impurities coming up, when we reduce that and turn it into coke, if we have to make a weld or do any forging on our steel, it just does a cleaner job, and your success rate goes way up when your fire is nice and clean. One thing about this particular design is that, I can spend an hour or two forging this, and I don't have to consider whether it's stag or wood or ivory or any other handle material. I don't have to worry about that. I just need to think about the preform. So I'm going to go from square to horizontal. So right now we've got a vertical rectangle. That's what we started with. So we're going to go now to it's more or less square. It starts off square here and gets a little wider than it is tall. And I want the entire tail to come out about 8 inches or so, and it'll be more horizontal. So we're going from vertical to horizontal. It's more comfortable on your hand. So you don't want to be bearing down on these sharp corners and something real square or even thin and sharp.
No.
That's not comfortable.
No, you want to be comfortable when you hold it.
So the consideration for comfort is paramount to me. So you see me bring it out and peek at it and look at it. So here we go. It's hot. So over and over again, I'll go through these motions to make that longer. If anyone who's ever used a wood cook stove would kind of help, or if that kind of helps folks understand how it is working with a fire like this. I'm having to think about air, draft, those different things, how they mix and how they are adjusted to come up with. So I've worked right here, and I've worked right here. And now I'm going to work the middle where it's thick. And it won't be long enough yet. I'll still have to creep on out longer. But it's just a progressive stages that I want to work it. All the time I'm watching the heat, because you can burn that piece of steel. Section at a time. So I am going to be forging, so I'm going to be using forging temperatures, so I got to be careful on something that thin. Okay, so we've come out about another inch from where it was. Good, so what I'll do now is I'll shape the beaver tail and chamfer these corners. Take the sharpness off of them. So essentially, a small knife has about, it's not a very long handle. So we're doubling that plus a little bit. So that extra material allowed it to come wider without getting thin. I don't want it to feel weak or look weak. There are those that's going to look at this and say, hey, that's not going to be very strong. This is a bigger, broader area than this. So while I might be good at hammering, I'll never be as good as this anvil is at being flat. The wise thing to do is to work on the inside or away from your hand. That was taught me. It wasn't something I dreamed up. The blacksmiths of old, they knew those things. It was commonplace. They knew it. They were taught it. It's just how they made things. It was pretty smooth. It's time to cut it off, chop saw, or I can get that hot and cut it on a hot cut. I'm going to point out something now. As far as judging material, I'm using 1/4 inch by 1 bar stock. When it comes to my blade thickness, I don't want it to be a 1/4 inch thick. So I'm not going to cut it where you would if your blade was a 1/4 inch thick. I'm cutting it shorter so that I can
Draw it out, thin the blade.
And just place it and thin it, and it'll be. So it's going to be longer than what it might look like whenever I first cut it. So I'm more or less giving it just a little bit of air and giving it time. I want the time to help catch up and even things out. I'm just going to put it in the groove and roll it. And then we'll take that off. Put that back into the fire. Trying to draw this into a triangular shape. Here we go. If I have any doubt, I'll just take a grinder and grind about a 1/16 of an inch.
Yeah.
So I don't have any hot shuts. So now it started into a blade shape.
Looking more like a blade all the time.
Yeah, it's still real rough. But in turn now, we roughed it up. Now I'm going to smooth it. And then I'm going to do it again if I need to. So what we're doing is taking a section of this material about that long. Half of it is the handle. Half of it is the blade and ricasso. That ratio is how anyone can make this out of this size stock or something a little bit bigger, thicker. Or you can have a little scrap no bigger than that, and you can make one of these knives by getting the ratio right. You scale that starting stock down or up. So you can kind of see that I've got a wide spot here. This is narrower than this back here. We're going to end up with it, hopefully, with an abrupt step on an angle where the ricasso and blade is on 2 different planes. You can kind of see that what I'm developing now is a preform. It totally has to look right as a preliminary form. It has to look right in that condition before you go on and make the bends and make it into the final shape of the knife. If you don't have it, you're not going to get it. It's time to do it now in the process. You can't access it otherwise. Another thing I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to deviate from the historic side of things. Instead of me filing and doing a lot of round bar work, which I've done. That's the way I developed this process. I'm just going to go ahead now. I've got things in position where I can use the grinder, and I'm going to throw the sparks over here.
Okay.
You see where I've been.
Oh yeah, you got a plate there.
I got me a cover for my light switch.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Don't want to melt the light switch.
Oh, I've done it, and that's that's why.
Not the first light switch. Got to put a cover over the light switch.
That's
She's
right.
going to do some grinding now. Throw some sparks. That's what we like to see.
That's the first little isolation of material.
Yeah.
Right there.
Oh, yeah.
So let's get it hot, and I'll hammer on it some more this way, thin the blade, and what I'm anticipating happening is that to be far enough back to be sufficient for my tail to hook on to. I can see the knife kind of finished in my head and the preform finished in my head, but I can see that I have to do a little bit more work. It's still too thick. You see, I don't even have the bevel in it. Really thick.
Yep.
So that's just a kind of to set myself up for the next forging. So I'm going to go ahead and cool it to where we can, yeah. Any roughness that might still be in these curves, I can take a chainsaw file and clean those up. It really adds to the look. It makes it look like it flows better.
That'd be a nice little belt knife. You know, cross draw sheath, right like that. Yeah, that'd be nice. This is really nice. That would look good on me, wouldn't it? Yep.
So when
Look at that. Get a close look at it.
So when you are thinking about making a knife, when you're making this type knife, this process with one piece of steel, you have to think in terms of the entire knife.
Yeah.
Not just a blade or and then fit it to a guard and then the handle and so forth to a draw. You are actually making the shape. So there's a lot of blacksmithing and scroll work. Basically what that is a blade with a scroll on the end of it for the handle.
I hope that, you know, knife makers who watch this show can glean just a little tidbit of information from one or the other. We all do a lot the same way, but there's always those little tidbits of information you can get, those little techniques that just change the whole way you look at what you're doing. And if people can get that out of our videos, man, that's great.
It is great.
Yeah.
And I hope so. And I really, really appreciate you being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's fun coming out. You know, while you're watching at home, if you could do me a favor and give us a good thumbs up, and then subscribe to our channel, because both those things, as well as the comment down below, make a difference in our algorithm, which keeps more people seeing our videos, which allows me to come out here and do what I do. Another thing that allows me to come out here and see people like you is if you go to our website, I hate to do a shameless plug, but bcknife.com, go there, bcknife.com, and buy a little something. It doesn't have to be a $2,000 knife. Buy yourself a little something just to give it a little business. And that helps me stay out here on the road. It's very expensive being out here doing what I do. And it helps to pay for this so I can keep coming out and keep bringing you this great content.
Yeah.
So where does this knife go from here?
I finished thermocycling, grind the bevels, a little light profile. You don't need much. You can see it's really close. Heat treat it. That's it. I mean,
Wow.
and finish the. I usually hand sand the bevels and put my name on it. The name goes right there, and then get a sheath. Sometimes Kenny will make them, Kenny Rowe in Hope, Arkansas. Sometimes Joshua Ray, my nephew, makes a lot of my leather sheath. He made some of those over there.
Yeah, we've been using Kenny for all our custom sheath orders for a number of years now. He just never fails us. I mean, everybody loves his sheaths.
Got a grinder per window and a fan per grinder.
An evacuation system. That's
Supplemented with a vacuum system.
yep. That's excellent. Keeps everything pretty clean.
These little sewing machine lights with the magnets on them.
Uh-huh.
You
Oh,
can
the
move
magnet.
them here and there wherever you want to,
Very cool.
and they're real cheap. Sort of a hybrid between a Burke horizontal mill and a Bridgeport. I think it's an M head. I love that machine. It is a hybrid. It's very small though. The table is. I don't have a lot of travel, but I don't need a lot.
Yeah.
It's sufficient for what I use it for, and so useful, so very useful to me. So this is 80 CRV2, so it likes the medium speed oil, so I'm using Parks AAA. You won't see me using a torch to heat my blade on a bigger knife. I won't do that.
Yeah.
I'm just any of the cycling that you've done, you blew the grain back up. Because you have to overheat to be able to go from one end of that long blade to the next.
Well, that knife we were working on earlier, that's in heat treat right now. That's in the oven. It's going to be a couple hours before that's done. Lynn Ray, it's beautiful out here, and I really appreciate you having me out here to Prattsville, Arkansas. Thank you, Lynn Ray.
You're welcome anytime.
Very much appreciate it.
Glad to have you.
Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Go to bcknife.com and buy a little something. Anything helps the effort and keeps me out here doing what I do. Until the next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.